Science shows that our craving for information could be as intense as our craving for food, and in this video I'll reveal proven techniques to tap into this innate human drive to help you make your educational videos or content irresistible and binge-worthy. My name is Mehdi. I started making videos as young as 10, and I love this space. One particular thing I noticed when I switched to making educational videos, unlike my previous second gaming channel, I noticed that educational videos don't hold viewers as much as gaming ones. Of course, gaming is innately entertaining, but I cared more about my educational content, and I noticed that the engagement wasn't the best thing. And factoring that they took longer, I tried to make them higher quality. You go to school, work, become exhausted, you work on your videos even on weekends, holidays, you dedicate time, excited to publish that one high quality video that you spent over 40 hours on. Then it doesn't get what you expected, or what you at least think it deserves. You truly believe your content is better than everyone else's or most people's content. A/B testing multiple times, changing the thumbnails, the titles, but they actually might be good. But you see the engagement and it's not the best thing. Can't just blame attention spans, can we? Well, here's the thing. Your videos do not lack quality. They lack a specific set of quality, which is the fundamental base of your channel. A set of quality that will turn viewers on their toes and leave them no choice but to binge watch your content. So how can we use the brain's reward system to our advantage, which includes the release of dopamine, and activating it, turning our viewers into information-seeking behavior mode? Don't worry, we'll get to the system with the examples and everything. However, now we're going to cover scientific basic knowledge to understand how an audience is wired. You might think just people like to waste their time and do not care about education, which in a sense is true. But just think about something like the self-help industry. It's addictive and worth over $11 billion in the US alone. Or the book industry as a whole. People still read books and get addicted to them. Something must be going on there, right? Or even how podcasts, despite giving you in-depth knowledge and very long, they get millions of views. Interesting, isn't it? We've been told our attention spans are declining. And I don't say it is not, but it depends on who you're talking about. Learning that, there's quite an explanation. In a 2018 study, they found that when we face finding new information, our brains trigger something called incentive salience response. It's this desire and innate need to know, curiosity, and it could get us to engage in compulsive behavior just to find the answer. And according to the same study, the incentive salience properties of curiosity have common neural pathways with extrinsic incentives like hunger for food. Even Jim Kwik, a well-respected brain coach who mentored CEOs, athletes, celebrities, said this: "The fact is, our brain is on a mission from the moment we're born to learn. It's actually programmed to actively seek out new information." And want to add on top of that something that not everybody knows but experiences. The fact that dopamine is released during the craving phase, that anticipation phase, not necessarily could be released during the reward phase, and what could cause people to consume hours and hours of TikToks. Even if they might not like it, the act of swiping is more rewarding. Want to add also one caveat is that curiosity is one of the 5 intrinsic motivators. Take this with a grain of salt and use it as, as an information to your advantage. You have curiosity, purpose, autonomy, and mastery. Now that we understand this and people actually do crave information, which also includes education, I'm going to show you how to tap into this the most efficient way possible. And I call it the TAPPG system. Yes, it's a name I made. And it means target audience, specific audience. That's why I added the T. This audience has a problem, and ideally, the higher the pain the problem causes, the more they have no choice but to consume your content that solves the problem. I'm going to expand a bit over that. And the G stands for goal. They want to achieve an outcome, a goal. And so by positioning yourself and your content an intermediary between them and their goals, by solving their problems that cause them pain, it's like a system. It's you and your content becoming the system right in the middle. Tap right into that pain and need for information to solve it and relieve them. But you want to go deeper. Wait, what? Why? You see, there's just a lot of competition out there, especially in the English market. Like, for example, this channel was growing at a faster rate than it is now because it didn't start in English. And so If your channel isn't in English, you might just have a big advantage. But anyway, competition is still competition. I don't mean that competition is bad. When there's competition somewhere, it means that there's a lot of demand for that stuff. But the best people understand that they shouldn't compete. Rather, they create their own standards, their own competition by niching down. Don't worry, I'll cover that with examples and a little bit of science in moments. For example, there's a reason why podcasts developed and started gaining millions of views and attraction to the point where YouTube made them into this whole separate category. They're long, talking about more nuanced stuff. Why? Many factors are involved, of course. However, it's about dominating a gap in the market. Normal 5 minutes, one TikTok video won't probably solve what a whole podcast solves. And I'm gonna show you brilliant examples of dominating gaps in the market. When there's so much supply in a space that has demand, it is simply hard to stand out, and you're easily setting up yourself for failure. Yes, you want to build your personal brand, your personality plays a role, all of that sweet stuff. Yeah, true. But what about the content itself, the ideas? Interestingly enough, on the other hand, consumers start binging those type of videos over and over and over. They start gaining wisdom, knowledge. But at a point, there's a plateau and there's not much new content to benefit from in that niche. And they slowly fade away, consuming maybe here and there. And they've exhausted the content essentially. It simply becomes harder for them to find new information that will set them apart from the rest of people. And every video they click on now, it has this same regurgitated advice and the same promises again and again. Something is missing. And before getting into the next step, which is synthesizing deep knowledge, this might sound surprising. Currently, we're at 457 subscribers. My goal 100K and more, why not? It sounds crazy, but I know it's hard, it's difficult, but if you like the value of this video or any of my videos so far, which seems you are, at least for this video, could you please consider hitting the subscribe button? It will help the channel more than you know. Thank you. Let's get back to the video. Next step after niching down, learn deep knowledge. You need to share deep knowledge and synthesize it in a convenient way that even the experienced and the beginner audience understands. Let me explain. For example, you want to become a productivity YouTuber. Tough luck. Ali Abdaal and others dominated the space already. But what if I told you there was a guy who broke through and made a name for himself? He didn't compete, rather created his own competition. And he became known as this flow state expert. And it was planned from the beginning. In fact, I made a whole video about him. Sweet that his videos talk about more in-depth stuff. They still get a lot of views. The difference is that the packaging is general in a way that attracts a lot of people. But talking about things like intrinsic motivation, packaging in a way that says how to force your brain to crave doing hard work, organizing your space, systems, essentially things related to flow state, that optimal state of consciousness when you work to the point where you forget yourself and lose track of time. And he attracts an audience of high achievers like entrepreneurs, CEOs, because the fact is that his content should serve his business, which is dedicated for research and training. Of course, Rian has advantages such as working with big names like Audi, Formula One. Think about if he made general productivity content. Wouldn't that be an undermining potential? Look, sometimes or a lot of times, people want or need that solution, but they simply didn't know they needed it or wanted it in the first place. And to not make it easy, as I said, he has this authority and business and a good team, but essentially it comes back always to the base of the channel. What actually do you give? It's the core message and the backbone, which is essentially synthesizing deep knowledge. Rian's information comes from books, podcasts, and research. Instead of you doing the works, because most people won't, he did it. And he tries to convey it in the best way possible so that the beginner and the advanced both understand. But even if you were new discovering him, well, his content just would make sense. We get to a thing that is common between big channels like Ali Abdaal, Alex Hormozi, Rian. But essentially, they went, experienced it, learned that deep knowledge, and then synthesized it in a concise way. And we'll get to that. And by doing that, like Rian, you can establish authority and benefit your business, dominating a gap in the market, teaching things that other gurus are not. Remember, It's not just teaching, solving problems. And don't be surprised when people binge watch your videos. You see, if you get an audience interested in your content or is already interested, a 2014 study found that the more interested and curious our brains are about a topic, the more likely we are to retain information about it. Coming back for a moment to reflect on other educational YouTubers, even like Ali Abdal, he taught his audience in-depth knowledge. Like just think about it. There is so much content out there that is not in a video form. Instead of you reading a book and learning how to become a little bit more productive, he did it and synthesized it. What he teaches in his videos come from his interviews and books he read, where he consumed, what he experienced. So even he goes that extra mile that most people are not willing to solve problems. And to be honest, like this video, if I watched it like 1 year ago or 2 years ago, I think it really would have made difference because I consumed content and I'm literally now synthesizing it and giving you examples, trying to solve a problem and teaching you along the way to also help you solve that problem. And you don't have to be 1,000 kilometers from your audience. It's this mindset shift of trying to solve problems like businesses. Think about it. And in the YouTube growth space, there's this idea about, oh, find a good idea for your videos. Okay, but how about the base of the channel? What problems am I actually trying to solve? The more complex the problem, the more they would be willing to consume more of your content. Think about, for example, Google. How smart do you think would you be if Google didn't exist? Okay, you might read more books, you might actually not consume TikTok, I don't know, infinite possibilities. But just the problem of not knowing an information and having a search engine going and looking for the information, and you don't have to be 1,000 kilometers away from the people who you're teaching. Even for many big names in their space, they had a problem, they've learned, consumed, and taught people. And they found other people interested too. Maybe it's something you wished you learned earlier. And that is the key. Do the learning, adapt it. We'll get to this part. Implement it yourself and teach it. Notice what I'm doing in this video. By the way, there's at the end of the video a whole conclusion. In fact, even people like Ali Abdal, Reen Doris, this is what they did. They had a problem, looked for the solution, implemented it, and now they're teaching it. I am literally giving you the blueprint. If I had this video a long while ago, this is like a masterclass. We are drowning in information while solving for wisdom. The world henceforth will be run by synthesizers. Consume, create, student, philosopher, teacher. Put Andy Kirby's signature on that design. This guy is literally known for the word synthesizer, and he associated himself with it. Branding, which is also included in this video. Summary for this chapter: learn from those ahead of you and teach those behind you. Now, the thing is, how do you communicate it the best way, as much as you could? We already proved that humans crave information, knowledge, the seductive power of teaching in-depth information. The question left, how do we adapt? I want to mention an approach that is effective but might take some time. So your audience has a goal, right? They're in pain, right? Because of their problem. Remember that you and your content are the system. Try to sell the dream in the outsider package. I'm not a thumbnail title expert, but I would call this a general specific approach. It might not work for you because you should ideally attract the right audience that has that problem. But essentially, it's a way that is making the content from the outside, general, but not too general. Specific, but not too specific. Unless you really want to make it specific, that could work. Like if your audience are billionaires who make it, okay, they're billionaires anyway. Like you might just, go deeper. Views don't matter in this place. But it's just a way of attracting as much of the total addressable market. And I learned this from Stephen Bartlett. And it is very noticeable in their podcast. You see, they use authority, the neuroscience expert, and all of these titles. It's specific and tries to introduce as a way to solve problems. Now, caveat there, the Diary of a CEO have a wider audience, although it's essentially CEOs and high performers, but it also includes, everyday people. So just keep that in mind. Or if we look at Reen's videos too, the promise is bold, makes you curious, not the 5 intrinsic motivators. Rather, it's something like how to force your brain to crave doing hard things. Now, besides the outsider view, if the content itself is trash, it's trash. And it also depends on how do you deliver it. Remember, your audience. I think in a way, too much explanation doesn't work unless it's a podcast. But even a podcast includes these elements, like essentially trying to simplify it so that new viewers who don't even know about this can understand. And if you can, explain to a 5-year-old, for example, then why wouldn't experienced people understand? For example, I made this video, but I think there was too much explanation. I was excited about the nitty gritty. I explained too much, I guess. And I also think I didn't make it more convenient for the audience. And so try to implement examples to amplify the explanation or as a gateway to remember the explanation. What do you remember of this video? Maybe Doris, learning from those ahead of you, then teaching behind you, synthesizing. You won't remember everything, of course. People are more drawn into narrative, just like I did in this video. And perhaps you can also introduce some visuals to convey the information in the best way possible. Don't think of it as a fancy way to present your video. Think about, editing as a way to try to convey the information in the best way possible. Like animation. If there's a complex situation that you can't explain with your hands and just your mouth, maybe, doing a hand animation might work. And it doesn't have to be fancy anyway. Or for example, just look at Alex Hormozi. Those type of whiteboard videos work because it's a way to try to convey the information the best way possible. If a whiteboard will work, why not use it? And so if you applied what I told you before, don't worry, there's a conclusion. You'd have the benefit of branding. And I'll just let this Alex Hormozi guy explain it.
Branding is teaching behavior at scale. And so if you think about the origins of the word, branding was branding cattle. So you had a cow and you would sear, some sort of logo into it. And so then we have to ask, what was the objective of that action? Well, the idea would be that if someone saw the cow next to a cow that had no brand, they would behave differently, right? And so for a cow that had no brand, they might take it, they might kill it, they might leave it alone, whatever they would do with an unbranded cow. But with a branded cow, they might return it to a specific owner, or they might kill it because they hate the owner, right? So it's still a brand, and you might hate the person who's the owner. But the key difference is that it would change your behavior. And so if we kind of extrapolate onto that, what we did was by changing behavior, that's functionally teaching. And so when we teach things from babies all the way to adults, it's associating things that people know with things that they don't know. And so the thing that they know should be the valuable thing, and the thing they don't know is your brand. And so then you associate the thing that audience deems valuable with this logo or this tagline or these colors or these shapes or this person, and then they say, oh, these are similar. And then you do it enough times that eventually they become one and the same. And then you can drop the thing and have the person, and they will still behave the same way as though they were receiving this value, but that has now been disassociated.
There's also a scientific benefit for branding, which is, according to Dr. McGonigal, Stanford University psychologist and author of The Willpower Instincts, if your brain believes that something is going to make you happy, your brain can initiate the craving response. Take this with a grain of salt. And also, there's simply an attractive aspect about branding, being known for that one thing, or a couple of things. Preferably that's one thing that you could be known for. For example, Ali Abdaal, productivity. James Clear, well-known author. What he's known for is habits. If you've ever heard the concept of deep work, well, Cal Newport is the one who created this concept, and he's known for focus or minimalism, or just the idea of deep work itself, because a lot of people around the world practice deep work. And so they've associated that with Cal Newport. Doris, flow state. And it looks like you're liking the value so far. There's actually a content template and a case study strategy I did for an entrepreneur in my school community. Solving the time problem, working on systems, one-on-one support, feedback for each other, as well as I can support with other things. The cool thing, it's free. You can click the link below and request the membership. And while it's pending, we're coming close to the conclusion. Trying quickly before the conclusion itself, creativity doesn't matter as much as people think. Or what do people take as what is creative? Like editing. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter much as long as you have these things that we discussed about. It's the base. Then Other things are just layers on top to make it efficient. Just remember old Alex Hermosi videos. You know, that period when that editing was fast and quick, and I literally like remember I even that got me, and I scrolled to the comments and people even liked the edit. It was like funny, crazy style, but over time he started attracting the wrong audience and dispersing himself to making videos that are not related to business. And so when he came back making like simple videos for business owners, something that he wished he'd learned. It's like people to watch his videos now have to focus and take notes. For me, the editing could be fancy. I say could be because I'm dialing down the editing. Sounds interesting. Is that I want to differentiate myself with that. And also I have experience with it. Like I consider myself having, I have good knowledge and great understanding of the editing philosophy. And I could just, do some creative things because it's just sickening. And if I hire, I just, spending money, you get it. But if I abandon it anyway, this doesn't mean that I can't come back to it in the future. It's about focusing on what truly, moves you forward. And also depends on your goal for the time being. As much as YouTube is great, it's a business, There's risk involved, of course. We never truly know if something is going to 100% work until it works. This video may be a flop actually, but you can only control what you can control. And it also depends on your vision, what you're aiming for, what you're optimizing for. Experiment and see what happens. Remember, maybe the audience wants that solution, but they simply didn't know they needed it or wanted it in the first place. Do your research, try, ask people, and post. Remember that understanding and harnessing the power of audience behavior to your advantage, creating binge-worthy educational videos on YouTube or on other platforms. Let's get to the conclusion quickly. And here's the full conclusion. Curiosity drives engagement. Studies show that our brain crave new information similarly to how we crave food and sex. This incentive salience response can be tapped into to keep viewers hooked on your content. The TAPPG system, target audience, identify and understand your specific audience problem, address the specific problems they face, pain. You may also want to highlight the pain points and the frustrations. Goal, become the system that helps them with the transformation that will get them to their desired goal or outcome. Synthesizing deep knowledge, go beyond surface level information by diving deep into topics. This helps you to stand out and provide more value to your audience. Adapting content, present information in a way that balances specificity with general appeal. Branding, establish yourself as an expert in your niche to build a strong personal brand. Think about 4 topics, ideally focus on one and become well known for it in the beginning. You can always expand later. Think about, for example, James Clear or Ali Abdullah. And crucial note, these people work to solve their own problems and found that people are interested too. That's the benefit of being the market, actually. Remember, you can always expand later. Creativity matters less than the value and relevance of the information you provide. High quality editing can differentiate your content, but the core value comes from effectively addressing your audience needs and curiosity. It's kind of you're setting yourself up for failure if you try to compete with effort, like editing. How about competing with the core and the base, creating a solid base? Then you can add tricks on top of it. The journey involves risk and success is not guaranteed, but focusing on these principles can significantly increase your chances of standing out and achieving your goal. Remember, you can join the school community. While your request is pending, you can watch this video to learn why YouTube is the best platform for entrepreneurs.